Hello, everyone. You lot all right? Yes, yes. Hi, Shams.
Hey. So, funny story, Krept is actually one of my good friends and someone who told me very early on about his plans to be more than just an artist. And when you look at his success, you'd be like, what more do you want, bro? Starting to seem a little bit greedy, you know, how greedy? But I'm sure that how many of you have bought Nala's Baby?
Jeez.
It's a lot, but next time we have a conversation, guys, I want it to be all of you, all right? So basically, I think that we had a conversation quite some time ago, and you was always very, very intentional about your next steps. And this isn't your first endeavor. You've built a number of different products and services. What is it that made you want more?
I've always been like a fan of multiple streams of income because I always think the worst in every situation. Like, what happens if this fails? Where does that leave me? So I've always been the type of person to be like, okay, this is going well. I want to set something up for this and kind of create multiple different streams or avenues or options in life. And as you evolve, things change. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I grew up, I love music. I still love music today, but I'm also passionate about business and building brands and building things. So I feel like sometimes it's not just about limiting yourself to one thing or one option. It's about exploring multiple different sides to yourself and exploring different things that you're good at as well, because a lot of people are good at multiple things. So why can't we monetize those things that we're good at? So yeah, man, that's kind of where it started.
Okay, and one thing that I like to talk about when I speak in audiences where there are potential entrepreneurs is failure. And I know you're like, what? But I think one of the biggest hurdles to success is fear of failure. And I'm always really conscious that someone who's already in the spotlight, actually that pressure is magnified substantially, right? So how did you feel when you was making the decision that you was going to put yourself out there as launching something new, knowing that you have so many eyes on you?
It's a difficult one because when you're in a public eye for something else and you're trying to start a business or trying to do something completely different, you know, both worlds can cross paths and affect each other. So for me, building a brand, knowing that people know me for doing music, I always think, what if I did something or said something or something happened that they didn't like that could now go and affect my business? So what I've really been passionate about with doing when it comes to my business is making sure that my business can become bigger than me and my brand can become bigger than me. So it's way beyond me. So like even with Nala's Baby, like if anybody here checks out the Nala's Baby like Instagram page, Nala's Baby page doesn't follow me. It doesn't follow Nala. It doesn't even acknowledge us. Like you won't go on Nala's Baby page and see me shouting about the brand. I will shout about the brand on my pages. So people that follow me, I can direct them to the brand. But you will never see the brand doing the same, whereas the brand is focusing on me being a founder because I want the brand to live on its own. And that's worked really well for me. So there's so many people that buy Nala's Baby that don't even know who founded Nala's Baby. And a lot of that is down to the marketing, the communication. When we are running ads, when we are doing promo or activity, you won't see Nala's Baby page talking about Krept or Nala specifically. Do you know what I mean? You might see a picture of Nala as in one of the many kids that are on the page here and there, very far and few in between, but it's kind of just left there. And I will promote, I'll shout about Nala's Baby all day on my pages. I'll promote it, I'll do everything, but I feel like it's so important that the brand can have its own identity. So when people are walking in the shops or walking in the stores, the messaging about the brand, the product, how well the product's doing, the reviews, what people think, everything is pointing to the brand. None of it is pointing to this is the founder of Nala's Baby. You won't go into Tesco's or Boots and see a picture of me like, hey guys, this is my brand. Like, you will not see that. And I really want the brand to be its own thing. So I've tried my best to find that balance where I separate as much as possible. But yeah, on my end, I will promote all day because people follow me anyway. So everyone that follows me, I will promote to them to direct them to the business. But the business won't then start directing people to me. So that's what I've been trying my best to do.
Okay, so that's a really good piece of advice, right? So in understanding that you yourself have brand equity as an artist, right, and you have a following, you were able to mobilize your brand equity into those customers. But then you also understood that there was a consumer base who may not know, not care, and maybe in some cases not even like, what you do, right? So you were able to segregate the two in order to build a separate brand in a separate entity. And I think that's really smart, especially when it comes to scale. And then speaking about scale, entering supermarkets and retailers. How many people who have a product or service would like to be in a retail store? Raise of hands, please. Okay, so there's quite a few of you. And it's not as straightforward as it seems, right? Because most people would assume that the biggest hurdle is getting that contact. But beyond that, there are lots of upfront costs, and there are a lot of things that you need to know in advance in order to not kill your brand before through success, right? So if you just want to walk me through, I guess, the biggest challenge that you think that there is for people who want to get into retail.
So even to start the point of how did we even get into retail, I literally, to find the people that I needed to stock my products, I found them on LinkedIn. So I would just use LinkedIn and type in like Sainsbury's baby buyer or Tesco's baby buyer, and then a list of people, and I'll just reach out to them and message them, find their contacts and reach out. And that's kind of how I would even find them in the first place. And then once you get into retail, the biggest factor is payment terms. So for anybody that is interested in selling products in shops, in stores, payment terms are probably one of the biggest things that you need to kind of mitigate and navigate through. And I'll give you live examples of what I mean by that, because you could have a business that's doing well, but you can die from success, which is something that someone said to me, and I was like, how can you die from success? If I'm selling, I'm doing loads of products, I'm selling loads of products, how can I then die from success? But you can die from success because of cash flow. So there's been a lot of businesses that have failed because of cash flow, not because their business wasn't doing well, just because they couldn't manage the amount of cash that was coming in versus when it was coming out and when it was coming out. So
can you give me an example of that?
Yeah. So for example, if I am a retailer, I don't want to say any specific names, but I'm Mr. Retailer, and you want to come to me with your product or your business or whatever it is, you're going to come to me and say, I would love for you to stock my products. And I'm going to say, okay, great. Products are great. I want 150,000, I want to pay you 150,000 pounds for 100,000 pounds worth of products that it will cost you. So it will cost you 100,000 pounds, and I'm going to pay you 150,000 pounds for that. But I'm not going to pay you until 90 days of when that product lands in my warehouse. So you might think, okay, this might be manageable. I'm using 100,000 pounds as an easy number, yeah? So now, you've got to provide me 100,000 pounds worth of stock that is going to cost you 100,000 pounds. So you now have to go to your manufacturers, pay your manufacturers 100,000 pounds, because you got to pay them up front, or you might 50% before and then 50% on completion. But you got to pay 100 grand to them. Then you've got to send me, Mr. Retailer, this 100,000 pounds worth of product. I'm going to pay you 150,000 pounds, but I'm going to pay you 90 days from when I receive it. So if your product takes 2 months to make, that's 2 months you've gone where you're 100 grand out of pocket. then now it's gone to me, and now it's in my retail. Now I'm going to pay you 3 months after I've received that. So 5 months will go by where you won't receive a payment from me. So now you're £100,000 out of pocket, and you're waiting for £150,000 payment from me. But then I might say to you again, I need another £100,000 worth of product, but I still haven't paid you for the first one because, you know, there's still 60 days left. So now you've got to go back to your manufacturers and produce another £100,000 worth of product. So now you're £200,000 out of pocket, and I still haven't given you the first payment. So then that can happen 3-4 times before you receive one payment from me. So now you could be £400,000 out of pocket, and yeah, I could owe you £600,000, but you haven't received a penny from me yet. So then you receive the first payment. So now you've received £150,000, but you're still outstanding £350,000, and you're still hundreds of thousands of pounds out of pocket. So imagine that with one retailer. Imagine now you want to go to Tesco, you want to go to Sainsbury's, you want to go to Morrison's, you want to go to all these other retailers, and the same thing applies. You will die from no cash because you won't be able to fund that. So a lot of people say you can die from success. Yeah, you could be selling because they're buying, they're ordering more products, but you can't facilitate this because you haven't got enough cash flow. So that is one of the things that people, you don't really realize when you're getting into retail, how you can die from cash flow and you can die from success as well. But there are ways to mitigate that, which I learned along the way.
Okay, fantastic. So I think it's really important for you guys to make a note about burn rate and cash flow. If you just jot it down if you have a notepad, right? And then you can find out more about that. But you said there are some ways that you can mitigate that. We're going to break this into 2 questions, right? So the first question is, I'm a new founder. Yeah, I might have 100 grand, but might not. What can I do? Is there any conversations that I can have?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing you'd want to do when negotiating with a retailer is negotiating the payment terms. If you're a new business, you're a new founder, new business, startup, you can say to a retailer, look, I'm a startup, I'm a new business, so I would want shorter payment terms. And there are a lot of retailers that will facilitate that for you. And one good example is actually Tesco's. So they have an accelerator program for, you know, new businesses where they'll give you 14 days payment terms. So in 14 days, you'll have your money. And stuff like that really, really helps. So I would say the first thing is to do is to go to, if you plan to get into retail or any stores, negotiate the payment terms and when you receive your payment. And a lot of them are willing to work with you on that, especially if you've got a good brand, good product, and they do want you, they will definitely negotiate that down with you. So I would advise everybody, always try to negotiate the payment terms and get that brought down to as quick as possible.
Okay, so negotiating payment terms is important. I think that, you know, a lot of people, when you start a new business, you feel like you're meant to look like you're ready. But sometimes speaking up and making sure that you're clear that, you know, these payment terms don't work for me. Is there any wiggle room? Is going to be an important conversation. And then the next part of that conversation really is, what else can you do? Because there are some other steps that people can take too, right?
Yeah, so I've come to realize there's another 2 things that you can do. If anybody has like manufacturers or suppliers, there's negotiating with them as well. So you can start negotiating with them by saying, look, I'm new, I haven't got this, you know, a lot of cash flow. And a lot of these manufacturers, they will support you and help you and say, all right, you don't have to pay me up front. You know what I mean? You can pay me 45 days after when I've delivered your products to you, which then, if you've got 45 days and you've got 14 days with a retailer, that means you can get your money from the retailer, 14 days, and then pay your manufacturers with that money. So there's ways to mitigate it if you can speak to your manufacturers and negotiate with them on that side. And there's also something called, if your manufacturers are a bit more hard-headed and they're like, no, 50% now, and this is how it works, then there's something called a banking facility that you can set up, an invoicing facility. So an invoicing facility is something that you set up. You can probably set up with nearly all banks do it. Whatever bank your business is banking with probably does it. And that is where it gets rid of the payment terms from the retailer. So instead of you having to wait 90 days to get paid from a retailer, your facility will give you the money as soon as that's delivered into the warehouse. Your banking facility will give you that money that you're owed, and then when you get paid from the retailer, you just pay back your banking facility, and they might charge 1-2%, which is worth it so that you can manage your cash flow. So they're the two things that I would say that you would need to do in order to mitigate cash flow.
Okay, so did you guys get that? Did you get it, or are you just sitting here?
I'm seeing nodding.
I feel like that. You don't know I like noise. Yeah, I'm a noisy person. I've got a red suit on. Come on, right?
I can see them.
So now that we understand that, what costs are associated to that? Because obviously, usually where there's convenience or ease, there's also costs.
So a lot of the time, so with the facility, it's a 1-2% cost. So if it's £100,000 that you need, they'll give you £100,000, but then you have to pay them back £102,000, which is okay if you're getting a payment of £150,000. Do you know what I'm saying? So it might be a two grand cost to your bottom line, but in order to manage cash flow, it's worth looking at and worth doing. So those are the main two costs. If you negotiate payment terms with your retailer, it doesn't cost you anything. If you negotiate payment terms with your manufacturer, that doesn't cost you anything. It's just the facility where you might incur a cost. But everything's down to negotiation. And a lot of the time they're going to come to you and say, this is how it works. But they're always willing to negotiate and work with you. It's business at the end of the day. And if you've got a great product and you're able to sell it somewhere, then they're almost all the time going to be willing to work with you. And sometimes they might not start that way, but as your business grows, make sure that you always go back to your suppliers, your manufacturers, to negotiate more. Because they might say, this is the cost price right now, but if they see things are picking up, you might be able to turn to them and say, look, we're doing well, we're growing, can we bring this down a little bit, can we bring these costs down? And that's how your business becomes a lot more profitable, because imagine selling millions of products and you change it by 10p. That makes a massive difference in the grand scheme of things, and it might not seem big at the time, but to your bottom line, that can make a massive difference. So always be willing to go back, negotiate after doing business with people, because you never know, they might say yes or they might say no, but there's always a chance that they might say yes to help you. Do you know what I mean? So everybody wins at the end of the day.
Okay, and I think that also leans into investment, right? Because without realizing it, that is a form of investment. Because whilst you're not taking direct cash from people, you're buying yourself time and runway. So speaking of investment, how did you find actually having to raise investment? Like, what was the process like for you?
The process for me for getting investment, it was alien to me. It was new. It felt really weird because a lot of the people that I was even asking for investment from was my friends and people that I knew. So that was very new, but I felt like I just have to, get used to this and I have to adapt. So that process was, but I didn't take it for granted that it was my friends and people that I knew that I was getting investment from. So when I did go to people for investment, I didn't kind of just go to them like, hey bro, like I'm starting this business. You reckon you can invest in this for me? I made a full pitch deck, financials, the brand, USPs. So like my pitch deck, if I can try and remember off heart, it was like an introduction to the brand. What is the brand? What is the market size of this brand. So how big is this? How big could this possibly be? So if, you know, the market cap is £1 billion, and you say, oh, I want to get 1% of the market share of this, now it's looking a bit realistic. Do you know what I'm saying? So it was the intro to the brand, the market cap, so how big is this category, whether it's tech in, you know, apps in sports, or apps in this, or whether it's food and beverage in the UK, or whether it's clothing in the UK, but what is that market cap? So always present that in there so people can see how big it is, especially like bigger investors. The first thing they want to know is, how big is this? How big could this be? And sometimes it's harder when you've got niche products or niche brands, but how big is this idea of yours? How big could it be? So how, if you want to sell, I don't know, toothpaste, how much toothpaste sales are there in the UK? Okay, there's 1 billion. I want to get 1% of that. So okay, so you can make X amount from this. So how big is the market size? Then it was, how does your brand differentiate from what's out there already? So what are your USPs? And for me, it was, we're going to be the first, you know, that's going to be 0 rated on Think Dirty and Yucca. We're going to be the only brand that has excellent on there. We're going to tick all of these boxes: pediatrician approved, dermatology approved. If it goes in your eyes, it doesn't burn, so it's tier 3, 99% natural. No other brand has that. This is the closest brand that has that. And so it was just, how are you going to outsmart and outmarket what's currently on the market? So that was the other thing that I had in there. Then there was, what are you going to do with the money? Like, if I'm going to put money into this business, what's the money going on? And you got to be very realistic, very detailed in terms of what is that money going on. Me, it was the team, marketing, and obviously miscellaneous, legals, all of that stuff. But the main thing was team and marketing. And the marketing, how are you going to apply this to the market? How are you going to land this idea? How are you going to land this? If I give you 100 grand now to invest in your company, I want to see what that marketing strategy is going to look like. So there was that, projections based on, you know, if we can sell X amount, this is what it will look like over the next, you know, 3 years. This is where we aim to be, so people can see the growth trajectory of the brand. How big do you think your brand's going to be in 3 years? Do you plan on exiting this company? Because a lot of people, let's say you want to start a brand, and if you're going to go and get investment and you're saying, no, I don't want to exit, so then you're going to hold on to my money forever then. So there's no exit plan. There's no way for me to get my money back. And a lot of people come to me for investment. And I said, okay, so what's the plan? How are we going to get my return on this investment? What's the plan? And a lot of the time they don't have the answers. So straight away I'm just like, nah, this isn't something I want to invest in. So always have, you know, for investors, an exit plan and how long that would be. Ideally 3 to 5 years. And obviously things can change. Your business can grow. And in 3-5 years, everybody might be like, nah, this is great. Let's keep going. But at the same time, always have like a base case scenario of, I want to exit in 3 to 5 years. So as an investor, someone can say, okay, if I give you 100 grand now, 3 to 5 years, you want to get it here, I can see how I could potentially get my return on this. So there was that. And yeah, they were like the main points that I had. And then also I had things like just other territories. So if I was to take this out of the UK, this is what the market cap in the Middle East looks like. This is the market cap in America. This is the market cap in Europe. Just so that you can see even bigger beyond that. Like, if this really works, you know, this is what I'm talking about now, UK and whatever. But if this really works, this is what it could look like if we go into these other territories. So getting a market cap for each of these different territories, I would say, is really important. And it just gives people a bigger vision and something to look forward to. So yeah, so I had all of this anyway. I had all of this in a deck. And I was presenting it. I literally just messaged everyone in my phone book that I thought could potentially be interested. I didn't have no shame. I didn't think, they're going to, why are you asking? You could do this yourself and all of this stuff. And the thing was, it's like, yeah, you could do this yourself. But if you get investment from multiple people, you can go bigger. I feel like I wanted to compete with the likes of Johnson's. I wanted to compete with Aveeno. I wanted to compete with all of these people. So I said, I need to be able to go for it, really go for it. That's why I went and got the investment, because I was like, I want to compete. Like, I don't want to do this on a budget. I want to kind of really, really go for it. So that was the reason why I done the investment in the first place.
So you got some really big names on, right? So obviously you were strategic and intentional about putting together your deck, about your presentation, about how you presented to your people, about who you presented to. And I know you said you messaged everyone in your phone book, but you were strategic in the people who you accepted investment from, right? Because for those of you who don't know, Krept had contacted everyone, and then it was like everyone wanted in, and it was a bit too many people wanted in, right? And then what happened was you became strategic, because when you're trying to grow, having investors is not enough. It's always better if you have strategic investors that you can say, okay, it'll be great. I know Anthony Joshua, but asking him to promote, or asking him to invest and then knowing that he'll promote as a byproduct of that is a very different conversation, because now he has skin in the game. So he wants his exit. He wants you to make money because he wants his cash back plus some. So walk me through that process. Who did you actually get on board in the end as investors, some of the big names? I know you've got lots of investors. You don't need to name all of them, but...
So AJ, he was on it straight away. Like, he's got a child as well. So I knew you'd get it. Anthony Joshua, Marcus Rashford. So Rashford's mum invested as well, which was crazy. Like, he invested, his mum invested, and I think one of his brothers invested, which was crazy. Jordan Dunn invested. Posty from GRM Daily invested. Obviously Conan invested. He was the first person to invest. He actually invested even a bit before I even done the presentation, but because he was there and saw what I was doing, so he kind of knew, and he was just like, yeah.
I think he also knows your determination and your zeal.
And he knows me, yeah.
So the thing with raising an angel round is usually friends and family or your customers, right? So the thing is, they are buying into you. As much as your brand can, the product smells great, it has all these great features, but the most important thing that they're buying into is you, and they're understanding that you can deliver. So we understand why he invested.
And I'll always say this to people, like, when you're going to get investment, you're not just pitching your business, you're pitching yourself. You're pitching yourself, because yes, I could have a great product and a great brand, but if I'm not hungry and I'm not saying I'm putting my all into this, then you're better off investing in something and setting yourself up for failure. Do you know what I mean? So if you're ever putting together a pitch deck, always talk about you and what you're going to do for this brand. Like, how much effort, how much energy are you going to put into this brand? So that's why, like, if you even watch certain programs when they're doing pitches, they will always ask, like, okay, so what else do you do? Because people want to know, okay, part-time, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. How much of the time is going to go into this business? So that's why it's important to say, look, with some of that investment, it's going to enable me to focus on this 100% of the time, and I'm going to be able to do this full time. Because one thing investors don't want to look at sometimes is when you're like, I'm doing this on the weekends, and that's like, I don't want to invest in something that you're just doing on the weekends or a couple hours a day. I want something that you're putting your blood, sweat, and tears into. And everybody that invested, I was also adamant, because they would say to me, like, but how much energy are you going to put into this? Because you're doing music. You do all of this other stuff. How are you going to find the time? And I said, this is my priority. I'm going to do this 100%. And I haven't let them down ever since. Do you know what I mean? So make sure when you're trying to get investment, make sure you sell yourself as well. Not just your business and your plan for your business, but also yourself.
Okay, well, thank you. Guys, On a scale of 1 to 10, how much have you enjoyed this talk? I knew you had it in you. You see, that's why I had to get them geared up from early. Krept, thank you so much. One last question, very quickly. What's next? What comes next with Nala's baby?
For us, international, man. Like next year, the aim is to go international, Europe, America, Middle East. Yeah, man, just doing what we've done here in the UK, internationally, and also going into other adjacents in terms of the baby category, and branching out and doing more things. I've got a product coming out in like 2 weeks that isn't baby toiletries. It's a hypochlorous acid. So it's an incredible. I can't even believe like it wasn't a thing like that before. But basically, hypochloric acid is something your body naturally produces. So it's a hypochloric acid, 100% natural sterilizing spray, innit? So doing like a small one so people can carry it around with them, and a big one for your house. So it kills just as much as bleach.
Wow.
As strong as bleach. But if you was to swallow it, it wouldn't do anything to you. It's safe. You can spray it on a dummy and put it straight into a baby's mouth, but it kills 99.9999% of bacteria, funguses, viruses, microbes, everything. And it's incredible. So it's like, we've even got like a special team that manufacture this within our manufacturers, and it's like in a whole separate, but it's mad. No one's ever made it to the level that we've made it at, and these are the kind of things that we want to do. It's innovation. How do we bring things? And people be like, but why is no one promoting this? Because they make billions off of bleach and harmful chemical stuff that have crazy chemicals in there, or the hand sanitizers with this alcohol, strong, potent smell. And like with this, you can just spray it, doesn't smell of anything, and it kills just as much. And it's stuff like that, bringing products like that, innovation and forward thinking. Like, how can we make things that are a lot better than what's currently on the market? So yeah, that's what's next. New innovation, international expansion.
Fantastic. And guys, how many of you think that we need more people like Krept to be visible? So then, Krept, what can we do at Black Tech Fest to help you to get towards that goal of scaling further?
What I would say is, everybody in here, we need to connect with each other, because I can't express how important it is to network and connect with people. There's people in here, yeah, there's probably someone in here right now that will change your life, and you don't even know it, because you haven't even spoken to them, connected with them, and they might not align with you right now, but there might be a point in time where you're like, hold on, I remember I spoke to someone that can do this, or...
But what can we do for you to help Nala's to scale further?
For Nala's to scale? I mean, just, you know, whenever you see any little videos with me and Nala, just a little like, little comment, just, you know what I'm saying?
Go and buy Nala's baby. He's being humble and modest.
If you use the product, just like leaving a simple thing like leaving a review on Trustpilot, like that goes a long way. If you use the product and you've never left a review, just leave a review if you can. But that makes all the world of a difference for us and what we take. So when people leave reviews for us and we go to pitch to other countries, they literally go through all your reviews and say, okay, look, so this is what everybody's saying about it. Okay, this is great. So if you ever get a moment or a minute and you do use the product and you genuinely like it, I would love for you to leave a review. Me and Nala would love for you to leave a review. I appreciate it.
I think we can all do that, right? Can we all do that? Okay. And Krept, how have you found the Black Tech Fest crowd today? Yeah,
man, good. I see people listening, like, and I feel like that's so important. So I can tell people are here to learn, and like even just this in general, like no one's in here to come dance and sing, and everyone's here to elevate themselves and become better and learn and network and build their business and their journey. So I proper respect every single person that's here, because back in the day, this is not even something I would have thought to come to. So the fact that you guys are here trying to do that now, it's like, it's sick to see, man. So yeah, I just want to say I'm proud of every single person in here that's trying to better themselves, trying to build their business. I'm rooting for you. And yeah, man, big up yourselves.
Okay, fantastic. A round of applause for Krept.